On the morning of May 29th, 2019, 271 pregnant women woke up to find their unborn children missing. The phenomenon was reported across the United States, with the highest percentage of victims residing in Nevada and Florida. As soon as the victims discovered the absence of their children, they were immediately admitted to hospitals and other health facilities. Examinations of the affected resulted in several unusual findings. First, there were no marks or incisions. Secondly, few of the affected suffered from blisters around their pelvic and uterine areas, consistent with the effects of radioactive exposure. However, they did not display any signs of radiation poisoning. They claimed to have felt no pain during the previous night. They had been asleep when the disappearances occurred, and did not remember seeing anything unusual. Scientists could not explain how this happened, and the victims and their families were left to grieve. On September the 1st, 2019, reports began flooding in from the small town of Lula, Georgia, about unusual weather patterns. A thunderstorm had formed over the area, but the expected rainfall did not consist of water. Rather, local residents claimed that red flakes were falling from the sky. Upon testing, the flakes were identified as being of biological origin. They were pieces of fetal tissue. I grounded my young daughter yesterday. We were watching television together when she stopped sipping on her juice box, turned to me, and pointed towards a corner of the living room. "Mummy, the shadows are dancing." I gasped and switched off the set, scolded her. As I led her up the stairs, I glanced down to the empty space, shuddering. Goosebumps rose up my back. I told her never to acknowledge them, just like how the medium had warned me. I was just waking up when my husband came home from working the night shift. He walked over to his side of the bed in silence, not wanting to disturb the kids. They were still sleeping. I felt the room grow cold, and exposed arms became planes of miniature goosebumps. The mattress dipped as he laid on it. His breath touched my neck, cold and sterile, and he kissed me. I closed my eyes, enjoying the sensation of his lips travelling down my nape. He always did this. I kept my mouth shut, though. Moaning would have wakened the kids. Arms wrapped around my waist, and legs tangled with mine. I curled up into his tight embrace. Jerry whispered into my ears, "Good night, honey." His voice faded off as a faint, but throaty death rattle. His presence disappeared a few seconds later, leaving me a sobbing widow once more. When the world was young, we avoided the shadow brides, because they were what we feared the most. The beautiful she-demons that lurked in dark caves and in treetops for mortal men to foolishly pass by. They spoke soft voices, beckoning foolish men towards their clutches by singing melodies. We were helpless against their charms. That is, until we discovered fire and learned how to use sticks and rocks carved into arrows. We no longer feared the shadow brides. Rather, we defended ourselves and our children from such inhuman beasts. We starved them. Without food, they weren't seen. They disappeared. We evolved and built civilizations and religions. And after that, we forgot about the shadow brides, as logic and reasoning took the place of blind fear. We now believe that they were simply creatures of myth. We are wrong. They aren't myths, and they aren't gone either. In fact, they're alive this very day. You may pass them by while driving your car down dark roads at night. The lonely ladies with torn-up dresses exposing long, pale legs with the brightest blue eyes and long hair. You may see them flagging you down in the rain. You may even feel like you need to stop and pick them up. Don't. they're evolved, and they're still hungry. Thank you for listening to this week's stories, written by EvanTheNerd83. As a little addition to the stories that I've just read, I'd like to read a very short poem, also written by Evan. It ties in very nicely with this week's coming theme. As some of you may know, on the 22nd of January, it's Edgar Allan Poe's birthday. And in honour of Edgar Allan Poe, here at Terra Mill, we're having Edgar Allan Poe Week. I'll personally be uploading poems, and the other workers will be uploading stories that they enjoy, or poetry, all written by Edgar Allan Poe. This one's called Longmouth, written by EvanTheNerd83. Longmouth hides under your bed. His tongues are bright, shining red, but as you sleep, it unfurls and creeps, until he can lick inside your head. Again, I want to thank everyone for listening to this week's narration, and everyone who's subscribed so far. Be sure to like, comment, and ask all your horror-loving friends to subscribe. You can also follow us on Twitter, and you'll find a subreddit where anyone can post stories if you want us to narrate yours. And if you look in the description of this video, you'll also find our individual channels and Twitter accounts. I've been Nico Wonderdust, and I'll be back tomorrow with the first instalment of Edgar Allan Poe Week.